And I might say that when Roger and Bob showed the film at the University of British Columbia, the biggest objection that the supposed scientists there had to the
Please support this channel by subscribing and leaving comments.
He's a very distinguished author, journalist. I don't need to really say a whole lot about some of the books he's published. You probably have them in your own libraries. Mr. John Willison Green. He's here to explain and to answer questions about the castings that are on this table. But I should ask you right now, these are original castings and some copies. Don't touch them, please. Don't pick them up, but it's okay to look and it's okay to take photographs. So he's going to be our first person to explain here, and I'll turn it over to him right now.
Could you wait for a second, Tony? You'll let you.
Yeah, I'm wrong.
Go ahead.
He can copy off.
What I'm doing here, there has been some discussion, in fact, a bit of controversy over whether some of the casts that were made long ago in the Bluff Creek area are the same foot or different feet. And a lot of people have never seen any number of casts from the Patterson film site or seen any of the really good casts of the 15-inch tracks that were cast earlier than that on the Bluff Creek sandbar. Because these are all casts made by one man, Bob Titmus. And he's no longer well enough to take part in this kind of thing. So he agreed to let me bring a selection of his film site casts and his Bluff Creek 15-inch cast on condition that I guaranteed that they were not going to be handled by anybody but me. I guess it was. So what we have here, I brought a few other things for comparison. I've got a couple of copies of casts of the foot that made the term Bigfoot. Neither one of them is a copy of Jerry Crew's original cast. I actually thought this one was, until we were going over these last night, and I realized it couldn't be because it's the wrong foot. This one is a copy of a cast Roger Patterson made in 1964 at Laird Meadow up above Bluff Creek. These five here, the four best ones are all from the same set, found by Bob Titmus on what we always used to call the Bluff Creek sandbar, just a little bit above Notice Creek, in 1958. And the remarkable thing is that these are arguably the best four casts ever made. Yet they're numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 of all the casts that have ever been made. And then he got a couple more on that same sandbar a year later. And I've got one of them here. They're not as deep and they're not as impressive. He went down after the film was made. Roger and Bob said that the road had been rained out and that there was no traffic, couldn't get in there. So Bob had come down from Kitimat up in northern British Columbia, and he went on down to California to visit his parents. And when he got down there, he found that the road had been reopened. So he went to the film site and he cast about 8 tracks. At least one of those casts he gave away and doesn't have, but anyway, I've got 6 of them here. And I might say that when Roger and Bob showed the film at the University of British Columbia, the biggest objection that the supposed scientists there had to the whole proceedings was that all the casts that we Sasquatch people had brought with us were too good. You didn't show any motion. Because we, in those days, were looking for something that mirrored the foot. And these tracks that Bob made, although they're certainly the worst for wear from rain and so on, certainly show motion. And then I've got a couple of copies, they're not good ones, of the casts that were made by Roger and Bob at the time they made the movie. And just for further comparison, there's one more track from that same area, which is what we call a 13-inch track, and it's not a particularly good cast, but it's, to my mind, 4 different sizes. There are some that think that all of these are the same animals. There'd be that few people that look them over and you can make your own conclusions. I think you'll have to just form a line and file pass, and
Before
I'll answer any questions.
questions, open to questions right now.
Yeah, can we look at the tracks?
If you would like to come up and take a look at the tracks.
Maybe questions afterward.
Yeah, maybe that. But, you know, let's be orderly and, you know, so we don't make a disturbance. Again, some of these castings are originals.
Far, like about 40 miles. I should have brought my tripod.
They cast the ones that just look.
Sneaking up on Sally there. She's a nice woman.
Yeah, she's next. Yeah, she's fun. We like her.
But I'm sorry, she's nice, she's sexy and all this. She's nice. Well, I don't mind, you stick something in her mouth.
Could have had something else to say, though. Might lose it.
Goddamn headache.
Those are awful.
One theory is that the toes are very long. They're bent over. Well, we always call it.
No, not an arch. It's what happens is like, right, it's stepping off and it pushes up stand like that later. And then when you cast it, it leaves that depression.
Okay, so with the, because of the indentation, does that indicate that was sandier material?
Yeah, flexible foot. It really shows the barrel.
Oh, sorry.
Why are you sorry? I ran into you.
Oh, okay. Get the hell out of my way.
I guess when they catch you.
They're cracks as it got wet and dried and so forth. Those are cracks.
And none of these are resting flat, are they? They're all movement. Is there a flat one here that's just
I guess that's got pretty flat. Yeah.
These were
But they were all striding.
This one here?
These are all walking.
Torn up on blue piece.
But I think you would be my
It's got the red soil in it.
No, I didn't. Why is it so flat?
Just it came down flatter and pushed it off flatter. It wasn't, or the soil was more firm. There was a soft bit of sand there. Right. Just the way it pushed off.
No, that one had a stick in there.
No. We talked about that last night. There was a little branch that had been pulled out, but this was not made by stick. That was just the sand being pushed up, just like
No,
that.
because we have a photo where there was a stick underneath.
Yeah, a little. Well, we.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that white stick and
Right.
all the little branches sticking out, right?
Yeah.
Just a twig. That, yeah.
Danny,
But that was sticking out of here.
Was it? Oh,
Yeah,
was it?
because Danny was arguing that with me. And when John went and picked these up, he asked Bob. He said, no, there was nothing there. There was just the foot pushed it up.
And the depth of that,
So,
and the way that heel goes back
after
straight
he's
and
finished.
very widely back. And you don't find any of
This
those.
was resting.
Well, not resting. It's just.
In your opinion, do you think that he at any point did any?
Besides which,
For the very simple reason, if Ray Wallace faked any fluff track, right? Then one would assume that, the shit he's peddling now.
This isn't curled too yet because you don't have a real deep ridge behind here.
No, they're not.
There you can see that there's quite a ridge on these.
Right? So, one would assume.
These are in sand. Grain size sand.
How you doing? Got you now. So you got the log house all done now, huh, right? You getting close to getting it done, or getting the house close to being done? Summer, Renee and I are going to go on the lake for 5 or 6 days. I'm going to get up there and see it.
Okay, that was great.
Of course, Doris will probably come.
Please put you guys to work to get me.
I'm easy, but I don't know about getting to Hendon to do it.
I know there a few times. I know what to expect.
It's not so much like
I talked to what's his name,
I'm just saying that he took a picture of Patterson track.
What?
It's a picture of this track, plain as day. Somebody today could be the whole thing was in the
about these tracks.
I think we asked more questions while we were up there.
Okay, so everyone. From the Patterson-Gimlin film site. This is the most extensively documented case ever, of any case ever. This one has been beaten into the ground. What's significant about this track, October 21st, one day after the film was made, Lyle Laverty came and took a photograph of this track. Okay, and then he left. He wasn't even associated with the Patterson-Gimlin party. It was two separate parties. Then, several days later, Bob Titmus came in and made a casting of this track. In between, when Patterson and Gimlin left, they had a heavy rainstorm. They reported that they covered several of the casting tracks in the ground with cardboard and bark. And a lot of the skeptics have said that with the heavy rainstorms, all of the tracks would have been obliterated. But clearly that isn't the case, because Lyle Laverty was there one day later and took photos of this telltale track, and then Bob Titmus was on the sandbar at the end of October to cast this track. In addition, these tracks, Roger Patterson made a 16mm movie film of not the castings, but the actual tracks from the sandbar. But that movie is not available. It's basically been lost. But this case has been extensively documented, and again, this is probably your first and only opportunity to see these original castings. They're not second generation. They're actually from the most famous case of all time. That's basically it there with Mr. John Green. We should thank both him and Bob Titmus for allowing us to have the opportunity to bring this in and to show it to everybody. Let me backtrack 1 minute. You had a question.
You answered it.
I answered the question.
Was that just ordinary plastic mirrors that you used to
Well,
cast? Were those
I don't know. I was casting plastic. Bob was a taxidermist. Casting things was part of his business, and he had a supply of whatever kind of plaster he used.
Now, before I go on, again, like we've had changes in the schedule, I would like to make a brief introduction.
If you're enjoying all this rare and unique content, please show your support by subscribing and leaving comments.